Okay, so the basic purpose of what we're doing here is we've got to slide the turn signal switch, which is what I believe this whole plastic piece right here is collectively known as. We've got to get it out, but it doesn't have any connector or anything. The wires run all the way down to here and come out in this big old honking connector. We got to slide them out. So there's some dismantling you have to do. This is called the protector. Is it going to be able to come up and over those squares?
I think so.
It is. Okay. So that's nothing but a piece of plastic then.
Yep. There we go. All right. First, we're gonna just take this spring off.
That's the one that pressurizes the lock plate, yes?
Yes, it does. This was not there originally, I think, but now it is. So
yeah, I think it worked its way up. I'm struggling to get that column out, right?
We're here now. Yes.
That thing's broken, right?
It is.
Okay, we gotta get a new bearing.
2 bearings left in this one, which I will be keeping.
2 balls.
Yep.
The factory service manual said something about like wrapping this in electrical tape so it'll slide through there without catching anything. The factory is very wise.
Right.
Hey, they made the Camaro. What are you talking about? They're smart enough to have an actual frame on the vehicle.
Yeah. Yep.
They're smart enough to trick Ford into an agreement in which they would not participate in racing anymore, and then they promptly proceeded to just continue racing, and Ford abided by the agreement for years.
Seriously?
Yes. This actually happened. Oh, actually. See if... Oh, well, how? Oh, okay, that makes a big difference.
Okay, that comes off now.
That was our original goal, remember?
Yeah. Now, this will come through.
I'll be damned. Okay, is it loose?
It is.
Can you undo it by hand?
Maybe. It's more fun to do it with the wrench.
I'm kind of die-hard tool guy. You drop.
Excellent.
That's what the pin looks like.
And the other piece looks like this. So I'm just going to push that in and then pull it right out the top.
The 2 copper pins coming out of the ignition key warning switch, they're not right. They're not, one of them is, at least one of them is definitely bent in a way that it should not be.
Oh yeah, we need to take this off, which apparently can now just be unscrewed.
Good. Okay, that's the tilt lever, right?
Yes. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
That was not
Wait,
on purpose.
spin the column around and see if we can figure out where that goes real quick.
Yeah. Okay, it was stuck in here kind of like this.
I recognize that gear. That's
Yeah,
in our kit.
that's one of the ones in the
That's
kit.
in our kit.
Yeah. Okay, how does that go? So,
well, this spring is screwed on with a bolt, a little bolt right there.
yeah. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So look, if you turn this, it...
Is that what the ignition key does?
Maybe. I could see it. If this would automatically pop back out, then I could see it. Because that would force this to turn this way.
Is that this rod?
No, that's this rod. It could be this one.
It is that one.
Yeah.
And that does go to the ignition switch, which this is the ignition switch right here. Nothing up here, not the thing you stick your key in. When you're talking technically, this is the ignition switch right here, and replacements are really cheap, like $9.
Right. So this, you pull it, it pushes this rod back. You hear the click from the ignition switch.
So if I'm trying to figure out how this goes, I'm thinking,
yeah, about
this
like
new
that.
part is that part right there.
Yep, definitely.
Here's how that goes. Okay.
Yep. Good to know. All right. So that's coming out.
What size of socket were you using there, just out of curiosity?
This is a 1/4 socket.
Okay.
And the bolt looks like that.
I know.
All right. Now we're gonna pull this out, maybe.
Try to make a note of how it attaches.
Yeah. All right. So this U bend was here.
Right.
And it also hooks around this peg here.
Okay.
With a second U? Yes, a second U.
Okay.
So if you just stick it in like that and kind of pull it around, it'll go back on. Yep, it's just coming right off.
It looks different than the new one. Is there an insert? Oh, it's not different.
Functionally the same.
Was
Well,
there
I guess-
something in the center of that slot?
Yeah, it's this.
Oh, so something dropped out the bottom.
Yep.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and take that out and let's have a look at it.
Alright. Oh, that's the thing that the ignition cylinder.
Good. Yeah, the
hooks
the
to.
lock cylinder turns that rod, which turns the black gear, which turns the silver metal gear, which pushes the rod, which moves the ignition switch way down the column.
So
We're going to be studying this later, I have a strong feeling.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So yeah, that goes in there like that.
Yep.
You pull it out like that. The way to tell the difference between the ends is this one has like a round lip around the bottom of it, and it's wider.
Yes.
So remember that now.
Okay. I think the whole world's going to remember this moment forever.
Uh-huh.
It is. You're dropping ball bearings left and right, son.
Man. Dang ball bearings. I just don't know when to quit.
I believe they do know.
they decided to quit.
They've decided.
Oh, okay, we can also pull this out.
Okay. You said to push it in.
Yep.
Rotate it a little bit to the counterclockwise. Hey, good job.
Oh, okay, it's just a little cap.
Yep. Looks like you made an impression.
Yeah. Alright, that cap looks like that, I guess.
Okay.
And now this spring comes out with something on the other end.
Okay. Well, why don't you tell us what's on the other end? Does it come out? Oh, it's a some sort of bullet-shaped.
Okay, it's like a pin, and then it has a ball bearing
cup.
indent
A cup. It's got a cup on one end.
to allow it to pivot. Right.
So now you should be able to, with release, you should be able to tilt it back and forth without it springing one way or the other, right?
That is the theory. Yep,
Okay.
pretty much.
Okay. And then the other thing we were talking about is how this stuff, a plastic ring and a cap and maybe another bearing housing, it's all just coming apart.
Yeah, it just popped off.
I'm gonna say this is not our idea, but we're implementing our own version of somebody else's idea, and we're all YouTubers and we're all sharing. So, American Threads, I believe 832, but I don't have a measurement to confirm that. I'm double nutting because the two nuts are so thin that I'm worried about what will happen using this one. 3 washers and 1 big old nut that will go over and around our pivot pin. Okay, so the idea is we run the screw into the pivot pin, get it about as far in there as we can get it, then make sure that that nut is centered over the pivot pin, and then run our 2 little nuts down the threads and start tightening it, and it should pull the entire pivot pin plus 832 screw out. That's the theory. We'll see how it works. We've already removed the pivot spring that causes it to want to pop up, right? It wants to pop up normally. Oh my God, that's so satisfying. Thank you, homemade pivot tool guy.
We're continuing the disassembly of the steering column, and we're going to take these parts off in sequential order.
Okay, so a little plastic ring.
Yep, a little plastic ring.
I believe this one might be known as the race cap. Looks like it's maybe got a little bend in it.
Yeah, it looks like it's bent.
Excellent. Okay, and then you have the inside race.
Note that the large side of this piece was on the outside. To continue with the disassembly of this assembly, I'm going to insert this and pull it forward to release the clamps that held it on there.
Is that it? It just slides straight off?
And then
This is a shocking development.
it will come off. These are the clamps that hold on to teeth along the bottom here. So when you pull this forward, it lifts those up, allowing these to slide under and change the angle.
Okay, so I do see teeth on those 2 arms, and I see a bar there, and I see how those teeth would, the grooves would grab onto these arms.
Yes.
Okay. We're looking at this component right here, and it turns out that there's some pieces inside of it, so Dylan's going to pull them out. And grab it like that.
Super helpful. There we go. Right here we have this, let's call it a spring, which, if you push down on it, it gives back some force that way and is just held on like so.
This part has the old outside race still pressed into it, so we've got to get it out. Okay.
It is moving.
Okay. That's the moment you know you're on the right track. Once it starts moving, it's a lot more cooperative, eh?
Yeah. In theory, at least. We shall see.
It's pretty cooperative.
It's much less stable this way.
So this particular part has one on this side, one on this side, and as far as we can tell, they're 100% identical.
All right, now we're going to take this out. Note that this edge here was latched on this, like this.
So you can imagine that the steering column is sitting on its side, and so what's on top now would be on the left side normally if you were sitting there facing the steering wheel.
Alright, well, let's take this off.
Completely shot.
Completely shot.
Former bearing.
Bearing. Yes. Now
Okay,
we have two.
and look, hey, check this out. There's a race, another inside race right there.
Ah, perfect.
So, would we find the outside race on that housing?
This right here is.
I don't see anything, unless it's this first ring.
Yeah, it's this
Okay.
first ring.
The 1980 Camaro that we're working on has a floor high beam, low beam switch. Therefore, this rod that is for a column mounted high beam, low beam switch is not useful to us. And we're just going to show how to work it out. So despite the bends, it actually can be removed. Now we're going to show you something that at first just appears to be a glob of grease that would be next to this pivot point, but it actually isn't. It's some kind of nut.
It's got threads, but it's like broken off all along here.
As you move this bar back and forth, is it moving around all the way at the other end?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Now we're down at the bottom end of our steering column, and there's a nice little clip to remove. We're going to inspect the bearing here. This bearing, the cap, the clip, they all come as a kit from all of the Camaro parts restoration places.
Okay.
It does slide on the shaft, right?
It does. Question mark. It is not permanently attached.
Okay. That rubber actually looks like it's still flexible, at least.
Yeah, this actually looks very new. Wait. Okay, rubber's coming with it, but
We're cool with that, right?
yeah, we're cool with that.
Okay, what do you got there? Like, is the bearing inside of that piece? Or is it just a cap?
No, we have no bearings
Is
in
this
here.
damage to this rubber right here? Or is it just grease?
Grease.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so the rubber and the plastic are two pieces, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah, two
Yep.
pieces. Goes like that. And then,
You want to pick that column up and let us look down in there a little bit? Oh. Oh.
oops.
Your shaft is going for a ride. All right. Let's have a look. You gonna take it all the way out?
Yes, apparently I am.
Ooh, look, the collapsible feature. That would be, if your body slammed into this thing hard, that's where it would collapse right there.
Good to know.
Look at that scratching right there.
Oh, yep.
And here's the wear area I was talking about. You want to make sure you grease that.
Probably where the bearings were riding.
We've got the steering shaft, and we just discovered how it comes apart.
Yep, so you can turn like this, you can turn like this, but you can turn that way farther, and then pull it out like that. Yeah, metal.
Okay. Many people would refer to the thing you put the key in as the ignition switch, and I don't blame them, but this is the real ignition switch. And what size are you using?
5/16.
Okay, so this real ignition switch is held on by 5/16 fasteners. And how does the rod hook into there?
Okay, it has a twist on the end that just goes into that hole
Point out the hole.
right here.
this is adjustable. Did you see how the mounting is with slots?
Yes.
So to get it right, we're going to have to do a little bit of possible trial and error to make sure that, you know, when you think it's in, you know, off, it's off, and when you think that it should start, it starts, and all that kind of stuff.
Whoa.
There she is.
Hello. All right.
Now, is that, how is the rod attached to this? Is it, oh, it just clips on. Okay. I've heard these described as reverse Torx heads, and I kind of agree with that. That's what they look like. 6 points and shaped actually just like the end of a Torx tool, but we need the negative of that. It's probably some special tool you buy at AutoZone. Could be for regular turn signal flashers. If so, it's much more complicated than the Ford equivalent.
Okay, that's that. Another one of those. And now, in theory, this should be loose. And it is, kind of.
Looks like part of it goes down into the steering column.
Yes. This hooks into here, and then when it turns, it slides along the inside of this.
Okay, that could be your neutral safety switch. Now, you can go watch any of a number of YouTube videos on steering columns, and they will tell you that when you have play in your tilt, it's because some of these 4 bolts are loose. And so we were curious, like, are ours? And it turns out the answer is yes to at least one of them. Okay, so the one he's touching right there is, he's just able to move it with his fingers. So that one's loose for sure. That one's loose too, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It looks like it's moving.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so we've got loose bolt syndrome on our GM steering column here. And that would explain why we had play in our, you know, at the tilt joint. For the next phase of disassembly, we're going to try using a 12.1 inch socket on these Torx influenced bolt heads that we're looking at here. They kind of look like the end of a Torx tool. 4 out of 4 loose?
So it would seem.
Okay, can you imagine driving around with a steering wheel that's attached to something that's just loose?
Yes, because I did it.
Yeah, but you didn't know how risky that behavior was. You've been engaging in risky behavior, don't you?
Hmm. Guess that it attached like this.
Okay, well the good news is those bolts are not equally spaced, so there's only one way they're going to go on.
Yeah, so it was like that. Exactly like that. Okay, we've proven that we can put it back. So now, let's take it off. I think that this is 2 separate pieces. I think this is metal and this is plastic.
Possibly.
Which could be the reason why there's tabs there, and...
Don't break them down.
Yeah.
Don't, like, we can't get replacements for that.
Why not? I thought you said that this entire section could be replaced.
I did not say that.
Well, I said it, and now it's not going to have to happen.
Why? Did you break it?
No.
Then why does it have to happen?
I said it's not going to have to happen.
I would have sworn you said now it's going to have to happen.
By bending those tabs, we could bring this all the way down here, but we can't slide it out fully because of the arm on this end and this thing on this end. So how is this attached?
Well, essentially you have a metal tube there, and probably some kind of ring. Yep, it's a typical ring clip. You will.
There we go.
Ye shall know. You shall know in the future.
Whoa!
You just shot the camera.
Sorry. Camera. Okay, that looks like that. So.
You're gonna need to work that ring off.
Yes.
So what kind of type of? What is that?
Seems to just be a flat ring. Okay, well, I can take it off in a diagonal manner. Pretty sure that's not how they originally assembled it, but it works. Here's another washer. A very bent washer.
It's just layer after layer of
A very
stuff.
bent washer.
That's probably to take the slack out of it. That waviness is probably on purpose. All right, Dylan. Look, you can either take them apart at the ends or you can't. So if you're pretty confident that you can't at both ends, then we're done.
The answer would seem to be can't. So I guess we're done.